Okay, well, where did the idea come from, Noel, to actually play at Knebworth in particular and not, say, Glastonbury for '96?
Um, we'd started, I think the previous year, or maybe that year we'd started to do stadiums. We'd done Main Road, and I think it wasn't anybody in the band. We were kind of in the bubble and just kind of doing it. It would have been dreamt up by management and promoters, I guess. They would have, the way it works is they work out how many people they can get in, and I don't. Somebody said to, we're going to put you on at Knebworth, and what we always used to do as a band was just be like, okay, whatever. So I wasn't really aware of it, Knebworth as a. I knew it was a. I'm not sure I knew what it was. Do you know what I mean? I didn't kind of. It wasn't like. I knew what Donington was, heavy metal thing. You know what I mean? And of course, you know what Glastonbury is and that. So I didn't. It didn't really strike a chord with me until I actually got there.
Well, that's the thing, because, obviously, up until you played there, it had kind of been associated with more old school bands. It had been a place where the Stones, Zeppelin, Genesis,
Pink Floyd had played.
Floyd, but you kind of moved it into a new area, I think, when you played there.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I wasn't really aware of our manager, who's old school into Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and all that, and Genesis. I think he was probably more excited than we were. He might have even been to see Led Zeppelin at Knebworth. But yeah, leading up to it, then you kind of find out more about it, and it's like, oh wow, they've all played here, And then leading up to it, it was like you've seen a list of who played there, and it kind of felt that we were in the big league then. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I guess it was the first, but it was certainly the first contemporary band that played there for a long time, and we might have been the first band to play there for a long time. It had been kind of passed over, I think, But yeah, I mean, not many bands do play there, do they?
Particularly in recent years.
Yeah.
It's you and Robbie.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been
a
bit quiet.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess it's a statement of how popular one is, I suppose.
But even so, I mean, when the tickets went on sale, you must have been pretty knocked out by the incredible demand.
Well, we were. I remember we were in the middle of a tour, and I was at home in London, and I was going to a gig that was going to be the next day in Southampton, I think. And somebody took me. It might have been the promoter or management. They picked me up in a car and said, "We'll drop by Knebworth and see what you think," kind of thing. And I remember getting out. It might have been in my Rolls Royce, actually, that was given to me by the record company. I remember getting out and just looking around at this nothingness and saying, "So where is it then?" And they were saying, "Well, it's here. This is it." And I was like, "But where's? What do you mean? Where's it going to be? Where's the gig going to be?" And they're saying, "Well, this is going to be it, here." And for as far as you could see, you were it was just miles of nothingness. And I was like, "So where's the stage going to be?" They were like, "Well, it's going to be kind of down there somewhere." And you were like, "Well, that's in the next county, surely, And but I remember laughing and just thinking, because these promoters that we worked with, and I still work with now, we'd all kind of grown up together, and they were the first people to put us in arenas, and then they put us on at a stadium, and we always used to laugh at them, and we used to say, "You sure we're going to sell this out?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, well, don't worry about that." And so when like I say, we were in the bubble, and we're kind of enjoying being in the band too much to worry about, all those facts and figures and stuff. They're all great for people who answer the phones and stuff like that. They don't really mean a great deal to us. I remember being just another, But yeah, I mean, when you 1 in 4 people in the entire country applied for tickets. We could have done 7 nights or something.
More, I think, because I mean, something like 2.5 million applied.
It was mind-boggling, at that time as well, you know what I mean? It was crazy, and we didn't even really put on a show. Do you know what I mean? We didn't realise we were the biggest band in the world. You know, the biggest band in the world has bells and whistles and lasers and woo and you know the razzmatazz and all that. We didn't really have any of that. You know what I mean? We were just kind of still. We were still just a little punk band. You know what I mean? Who were kind of doing it. You know, and looking back on it now, it's amazing to think we got that far. You know.
But you were. I mean, I guess that was your strength, wasn't it? Because you've been on the road basically since '93.
Yeah.
You were a hot band.
Yeah. We've been playing regularly, if not touring, then rehearsing. If not rehearsing, then recording since 1991, you know. And so we were good. There's no question about that. But we weren't showmen, do you know what I mean? We didn't have the big production thing. I'm not even sure we had a backdrop. But
2 screens, one on either side.
Yeah, I mean,
a bit of a backdrop.
If we'd have done it, if we were to do it tomorrow, you know, it'd be vastly different. It'd be a better show. But we didn't go in for that kind of thing then. You know what I mean?
The other thing, of course, about that summer, it was the summer of the Euros, you know, with Venables in charge of England, 3 lines on the shirt. There was that real palpable sense of optimism about the country. Did you get that?
Yeah, it was great. They were great times, and I do read a lot of stuff about the 90s now, and you know, people kind of, they dismiss it. Do you know what I mean? Oh, the 90s. But it was great. There was 94, 95 and 96. And up to the Labour Party getting in, winning that election. It was great. You felt it was just our time as 20-odd-year-olds, do you know what I mean? And there was something... So what was happening in politics, in music, in fashion, in art, in television, you know, Prince Nazim, you know, great characters, you know. Even television was great, the Fast Show and all that. There was a new generation of I want to use the word artists, but of creative people had all come up at the same time. And it was, that summer was particularly, I mean, for me, the 90s is summed up by the years 95 and 96. They were just amazing. It was one long stag do to us.
And for those of us who were too young to remember 66, it felt like 96 could be our 66, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Well, which is, you know, I guess we'd never had a tournament, we're going back to the football, we'd never had a tournament in the country that, in England that, since 66. So, it really does make a difference when it's happening on your doorstep, you know. And like you say, there was that, you know, there was Knebworth, there was, you know, Blur were doing their big gigs, and all the bands that were in the top 10 were all cool, you know. Pulp, us, the Verve, you know, the Manic Street Preachers, you know, the Charlatans, Ocean Colour Scene, Weller, you know, it was all cool music, you know what I mean? It's not like that now. But yeah,
you had some of them on the lineup, didn't you?
We had everybody except Pulp and Blur. Everybody else, this is another interesting statistic. Everybody who was on that bill, his next albums all sold 1 million albums each. I think I was told, or they all had #1 albums or something. So yeah, you know, the audience the crowd was our crowd. It was the one. It was the pinnacle when you're kind of, when your crowd mirrors you and you're all in it together. It was a great couple of years.
You talked about when you first went to Knebworth. Do you remember arriving for the weekend then?
That whole summer, I remember that whole summer I just spent flying around in helicopters. We were helicoptered in everywhere. And we went to, we all met at a heliport near Battersea Power Station. And we all got in, you know, this huge helicopter and flew to Knebworth, and flying over it I didn't at the time. You see all those old footage of Woodstock and all that, and the shots from the air, but it never dawned on me what we were doing. And flying over it was kind of like, we all had these headphones on, and flying over the crowd and looking at them and seeing it, I don't remember thinking anything other than, I'm starving, or I'm going to get beans on toast when I get there. I think the Charity Shield was on that day.
Yeah.
And United were playing Newcastle, and thinking, the Geordies smash United. It didn't dawn on me, and looking back on it now, it's like you were doing that thing that all the great bands did, Led Zeppelin and all that, flying around on helicopters and, all very glamorous.
Was it daunting at all?
No, not in the slightest. Not for me. I've never been. You ask the other lads in the band, they might tell you a different story. To me, it felt right to me. It's never daunting at all. When you're good at what you do, and you surround yourself with good people, it shouldn't be daunting. You've only got to go and do what you do, Not daunting at all.
So what was the mood backstage that afternoon and leading up to the performance?
I mean, for the first night it was hot and sunny, and just great. Not particularly euphoric, not particularly celebratory. It was just another day in our lives, really. I don't think anybody was going round going, wow, he was so big, Like I said, the Charity Shield was on. Newcastle got murdered in the end, and there was that going on. I spent most of the time trying to get Mick Hucknall thrown out of the backstage area, which kind of took my mind off it for a while. All this was pre-mobile phones, so nobody had phones sitting on iPhones all day. Text, where is everybody? What's everyone doing? We had our own little firm, and they were all there, and that was it. None of us had a mobile phone. None of us had video cameras or anything like that. Don't remember anybody taking any pictures at all. We were just kind of there. We had like our own little backstage tent. The TV was on. We were just kind of sitting around doing what we did.
Did you get up to the house, meet the family?
Well, we stayed on site overnight, and the next morning, I went up for a bath. Didn't have a shower, a bath, and I remember being sat in the bath, and a butler walked in with a tray, and on it was a glass of champagne and a bottle of sparkling mineral water. And I always remember the bottle of sparkling mineral water said on the label, "Delightfully sparkling," and it was.
So you had that, not champagne?
Oh, I had both. Oh, yeah. Yeah, delightfully sparkling, it said. And he came in, he's put it down and he said, "This is for you, sir." And I was like, "Thank you very much." And off he went. And I looked at the water and I was like, oh, fuck me, that is delightful. The champagne wasn't bad. And then, I went for a bath and went back down and, sat in catering all day and made sure Mick Hucknall wasn't there.
Okay, so what about the performance itself for that first night? What are your memories of that?
For some reason, there was a huge, great, big 8-foot blow-up Adidas football I don't know why we were kicking a football around those days. I remember that. I don't know why. What I do remember is my roadie, who had worked with me for years, who's since been fired for shit like this. We kind of, it's a big gig, and I think the first song we played was Columbia, and Whitey went out and he started. And then we went on, and the first note of that tune is a big chord I would play. And I kind of went on and, did a bit of that, whee, and then hit this huge chord thinking, fucking hell, I am Jimmy Page. And nothing came out of the guitar because the idiot hadn't switched the fucking amps on. And it's a good job I'm not superstitious, so I don't get fazed by things like that, because probably lose your mind after that and think, wow, this is starting really bad. But it's quite funny. I remember the gig being great. Not particularly. I don't know. I just live it. I don't. John Squire got up, was did Champagne Supernova, and I remember thinking, fucking hell, he can play the guitar, that lad.
There was a lot of as the evening went on, there was a lot of booing of Man United. That became like a chant.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, who the fuck are Man United?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of slightly surreal, almost unhinged banter from Liam throughout the evening. You couldn't make out half of what
Really? That doesn't sound like Liam at all. Yeah, I'm not sure Liam knows what he's saying half the time. I think he was getting more progressively pissed as the gig went on.
There was also...
Well, you see, the thing with Liam is he's got nothing to say in a situation like that. Neither have I, really. And I guess as a frontman, you're kind of duty-bound to do something. He would just holler nonsense, about furry dogs and corduroy skateboards and fucking this, that and the other. But I do remember looking over and thinking, what on earth? What is he fucking hell? What's he talking about?
Is it true that he didn't know you were doing a second night?
I know he stayed up all night. We stayed up quite late after the first night, and it was the sun was coming up as we was going to bed. I mean, we were wasted, and I was like, I'm getting my head down. What time are we getting off? I said, we're not getting off, innit? Where are we going? Well, where are we going? We're staying here. What for? We've got another gig tonight, have we? Yeah. I'm not sure whether I don't know if he was taking the piss or not. He claims that he didn't know they were doing a second night.
There's also, when you came on, I'm not sure if it's the first night or the second night, and you say, this is history, right here, right now. So you were kind of aware of the significance of it.
Well, it was the biggest, the most people that had ever been gathered together in, what was it at the time, do you know what I mean? So yeah, kind of, yeah. I've heard that bit, yeah. I might have got a little bit carried away for 5 minutes. Yeah, and Liam made some wisecrack. I thought it was Knebworth, yeah. But it was historic at the time, was it not? I think it was, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was certainly the biggest standing open air.
Yeah.
Plus the biggest, obviously, demand for tickets.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, well, yeah, it was history. Yeah.
How did the second night compare?
I think it rained on the second night, towards the end. Not that mattered to me. I didn't get wet. I guess when we used to do big gigs like that, I always used to prefer the second night because you'd done it the first night, and if nothing had gone wrong, plain sailing. And I'd have thought the second night was better, I would have thought. And then, of course, you've not got a gig the next night, so we hit it pretty hard after that. And I do remember the second day being quite long, because obviously, having been there for 2 days, the second day there was a lot more. It felt like a lot more hanging around. When you get there on the first day, you're there, and it's, well, where's catering and all, where's this and what's that, and what's Mick Hucknall doing here, getting out. And the second day was kind of slightly hungover, and people were slightly unhinged backstage. The party had gone on all night, and I remember the gig being all right, though. I don't remember being particularly bad.
So when you look back on it now, does it feel like a real high point?
I guess in terms of scale, we did it. We got to the top of the mountain. Do you know what I mean? We couldn't have done any more. But I mean, Main Road was a highlight for us, and it went in stages, you know. The first arena we played, and then Main Road, and then, you know, headlining Glastonbury, and then Knebworth, and it was all. But I guess in terms of the size, to pull a gig like that off with the bands that played for us and stuff was pretty special. One, and actually, at the end of the second night, when somebody came up to me backstage and said, you know, you didn't realise it then, you know. And I do remember this. I was reminded of this by this same guy about a couple of years ago, and he said that he'd come up to me and said, "So what are you going to do now?" You know, and I was kind of taken aback, and I was like, "What do you mean?" It's like, well, this is it. What are you going to do? I was like, I don't know. Do it again next year. I don't know. You know, don't spoil it. You know. I mean, the coolest thing would have been to call it a day there and then. Do you know what I mean? But too busy enjoying it. You know.
Yeah. I actually was going to ask you, how does it compare with sort of other festivals like Glastonbury to play at Knebworth?
Well, firstly, it wasn't a festival. It was our gig. Festivals are. It depends. If you're headlining a festival, I don't know. Festivals are weird. I do like them. I like going to them more than I like playing at them. It really only compares with Glastonbury for sheer size, you know. And even then, I think you get 110,000 in that field at Glastonbury, the main stage. That's if everybody is there to see you, which a lot of them are not, you know. But Knebworth was 125. So for size, it's the same. But when you know that everybody is there to see you and your band, you know. And again, I say all this with hindsight, you know. At the time, it didn't really register with me, you know. But yeah, it's a great feeling.
Did it piss you off when Robbie Williams did 3 nights?
No, because he's shit.
You ever do it again?
What, Oasis? I doubt it. You never know, though. You know, somebody offers me 500 million. I'll do it for 500 million. I'm just putting it out there now. 500 million is what it will take.
Yeah, here first. Thank you.
No worries, man.